Cowpea farmers in Ghana for the past decades have planted old cowpea seeds. This, farmers say, has led to a decrease in yields and low productivity over the years. The farmers, who are mostly members of the Ghana Federation of Agricultural Producers, again say the mother cowpea seeds are not resistant to pests.
After every farming activities, they lose heavily. Say in an acre of a cowpea plant, spraying it about 8 times is more costly and very hazardous. And some of them are not able to keep up with the spraying regime. So they lose a lot of cowpea. And those who are successful lose about 50% of their crop.
This also will impact on their health due to the use of chemicals and increases cost of planting. The Ghana Federation of Agricultural Producers advocated the introduction of the transgenic seed in Ghana. The project is also seeking to sensitize farmers in Ghana of the measures to take during planting to increase yields and productivity.
As part of the BUSAC funded activity, I visited the cowpea producing areas in Ghana to sensitize our farmers of the efforts we are carrying on to solve their problems. Why not now? They can't wait till 2017 or 2018 when it has become commercialized before they can get the commercial seeds and then plant them. So they are insisting that they need them as quickly as possible.
Cowpea farmers currently are anxiously waiting for the introduction of the transgenic seeds, which they believe can increase productivity.
Very much, John, for joining us. Your position you occupy actually?
Well, I'm the secretary to the board of the GFAP.
Okay, secretary to the board. So we're privileged having the two of you in the studio. You have a lot of technical knowledge. So let me first of all start with you. Now, one major problem from the story that I just showed a short while ago affecting the cowpea farmer was the maruca pod border. How has it affected the produce? I mean, you touched on it, but this time give me the core details of the challenge that you have. You have gone into its cultivation before.
Yes, as you are aware, cowpea actually provides protein for human beings, and it's one of the major food items that is served on our tables. If you talk about yokagari, if you talk about red, beans is also a component. Then you were talking about kose,
yeah, right.
Which is a bread that is made from beans. So you can see the role that cowpea actually plays in our food requirements, and it provides it provides jobs for most of us, especially within the northern sector, also within the coastal savanna and the middle belt. Cowpea is grown. In West Africa, actually cowpea is also grown. Nigeria actually leads in the production of cowpea, then Burkina and also Ghana. So when visitors come to Ghana, they request for red, and also Ghanaian beans. So you notice that
it creates a lot of opportunities.
Exactly.
Can you highlight challenges? You have been a farmer before. You have gone into its cultivation before. Can you highlight the challenges that you really had to go through from the very onset when you had not embarked on any form of advocacy?
Yeah, apart from weed control, pests and other diseases are the major challenges. But then the maruca pest is very troublesome from the time that you produce, you plant it and it starts flowering, and also at the time that it starts forming the pod. So it's a major problem, and if you are not careful, like Alaji said in his intro, you can lose almost about 80 to 100% of the yield if you don't apply chemicals, that is insecticides, about 8 to 10 times during the planting season.
John, you've nailed it right, and then it calls for a lot of modernity, and that's where I come to you, Dr. Otabel, where I want to hazard into a produce that should grow out of the regular cultivation process that needs a new phase of it. Talk about it now being genetically modified, like we talked about. And you know, in Ghana, we have kicked against genetically modified foods and the like. People are in court over it. But if this has been modified to become disease resistant, in your stance as a businessman, how effective is it for us?
Well, the problem with cowpea is not only limited to cowpea alone. I mean, it's kind of a problem that affects most agricultural produce. And you would find a situation whereby the farmer would go to, you know, plant the field, and then eventually they end up with very low yield. So when you have a situation whereby new varieties have been introduced, I mean, it's kind of most welcome to all of us. But it shouldn't just be limited to just the introduction of a new variety. You would agree with me that a lot of people are kicking against the introduction of modified, you know, crops and plants and all kinds of stuff, if they have been modified in a way that would seek to, you know, put life and, you know, life at risk. So that is really the issue. If you look at the National Biosafety kind of authority and all that they are trying to do is really try to get out to the public domain that indeed GMO is not zero-sum, which means that there are indeed key benefits that are, you know, to be derived from genetically modified, you know, organisms, food crops and organisms and so on and so forth. And therefore, we shouldn't just be kicking against it. Yes, I'm quite aware that sometime in July, this whole thing to do with the commercial cultivation of cowpea has been taken to court. In fact, initially when they went to court, the judge asked them to come back with, you know, somebody will say for them better particulars as to exactly who and who they are suing in that particular case. But, you know, my main concern is that indeed it's been recognized, even by the World Health Organization, that indeed when you are genetically modified any, you know, kind of crop or any living organism, you got to make sure that the processes are very well maintained and that you get yourself involved in what would make sure that lives are not put at risk. Because these days, when we mention food, you remember that we just don't say food. We look at food not just in the right you know, quantity, but right nutritional value as well. I was privileged enough to actually moderate the launch of the SOFI report, you know, for this year by FAO, which is the State of Food Insecurity report. And we have made a lot of progress in that area. And therefore, you wouldn't really want a situation whereby a lot of people would be looking at a situation whereby food, you know, even though it's provided in the right quantity, you would have problems to, you know, to do with its consumption as well. So that's where the challenge really is.
All right, let me come back to John Jiwanu, but let me also highlight that just a short while ago, one of my favorite members of parliament who is key on agriculture, indeed he sits on the committee for Food and Agriculture in Parliament, Bright Demoji. He's joined us. Many thanks, Bright, for joining us. I should say it's been quite a while. Yeah. I'll come through shortly with some questions on cowpea. But let me come to John.
I'm the Vice Chairman of the Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee.
Okay, Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee, Vice Chairman in Parliament. Quite a good position there in promoting agriculture. We should commend you for the good work you're putting in there in Parliament. But John, let me come to you and find out from you. So what were the challenges you had with seed? Because this time they've produced seed variety. So what were the challenges you had with seed so long as cowpeas were concerned?
You notice that some time ago there was a lot of this black eye cowpea in the system. And, it was introduced during the AXIP when Ghana was implementing the accelerated agricultural development strategy, and we partnered Sasakawa, and also they were providing the extension support. Then the CSR was also developing the seeds. So up to a point, we actually lost control over the whole situation, and the yield started coming down. And as you are aware, farming is a business. If you produce and you don't make profit, then it means you continue to be poorer. So with the new strategy that government is implementing, that is the first, the Food and Agriculture Sector Development Program 2, with the METASIP, government is trying to, or the Minister of Agric is trying to use science and technology to actually accelerate our agricultural development. And we are actually, at the continental level, we call something that is CADEP, that is the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program. So in all those continental and national strategies, we want to use science and technology. So we are working with the scientific community, with the farmers, and also with the necessary policy that will guide accelerated growth in the sector. Because if you want to grow, and actually it should start from the farmers. You must create the enabling environment by putting in the necessary policies, and also the incentives, and also the investments. So
the farmers.
Exactly.
Okay.
So for us, in order to increase the incomes of our members, we think that cowpea has a role to play. So if you have to frequently spray your farm, and when you are spraying, you know the nozzle is in front of you, and you have to move forward. As you are spraying, you are getting contaminated with the insecticides. You know, some of them are hazardous, most of them.
And it could even end up in food
exactly.
poisoning.
And that's the reason why.
In 10 seconds so that I can look at the public sector section also.
Yeah, so we are working actually as the end users of technology in order to produce, to increase yield and also to increase the incomes of our members. We decided to do that advocacy.
Okay, so you mentioned, right, you decided to do an advocacy. Now I come into Parliament where I engage directly with a man who sits on a committee who is the vice president of the committee. When you talk about cocoa and agriculture, well, cowpea is not there, but I know his duties overrides cowpeas a little bit. How did they engage Parliament in this whole process?
Thank you very much.
Do you remember supporting the cowpea initiative for a new variety in any way?
Yeah, not precisely or specifically.
Okay.
But as a committee, our role is to play an oversight role to our Minister of Food and Agriculture with regard to the activities within the sector. Okay. And it includes everything, anything in area of food, in area of agriculture, in area of all the sectors. But you see, if we come back to specific food crops, our engagement is with the crop services. What they are doing, they bring their report, we look at the report and see whether it's within the framework of the development agenda of this country. So that's the way we look at it. So delving into specific crops per se may not be directly linked, except that when those FBOs or associations that are involved in the specific crop productions have problems, then
we'll go into specifics.
Then we'll go into specifics.
But let me follow up with this question then, where I try to find out Parliament is a public institution. So when private institutions like this have their concerns, their challenges, and they bring it to you, for instance, we talk about cowpea and how they had challenges persistently. How are you able to help them enhance or solve their problem and enhance their productivity?
First of all, what we do, first of all, is that after they present their issues to us as a members of Parliament, we meet over it as a committee and discuss it. Then, you know, you cannot judge while the person is not there. So what we do is that if it is in relation to the crop services, we invite the director of crop services, and then side by side the leadership of the various associations. If it is a cowpea producer association, we invite them. Then we listen to both sides and see how we can solve the problem together. In certain circumstances, when we realize that no, there's an issue of finance, then in the next year budget, when the Minister of Agriculture bring the budget to Parliament or to us as a committee, then we say that no, you can't. If you look at our discussion with you last year, you made certain promises to the Cowpea Producer Association that is not involved in your programs of actions. Why? So those are the things. But if you sit back and you don't engage the key stakeholders, especially the committee, then we may not be able to help you much. Okay. But as a committee, we are there for the public. If you invite us or if you let us know whatever it is, sometimes we do even do the follow-up with the various associations. Whatever they are, we do follow up to do trips and go there.
I would come back to you again, but Dr. Otabil, I have not been fair to you. I would want to look at how we can make this successful. Here we have a private sector creating employment opportunities for local farmers, indeed for a variety that is so much needed. Indeed, if we would hit a success story, how can we all ensure that this whole initiative works between the public and the private sector?
Look, I think you've not been fair simply because you see me more in the area of finance as opposed to agriculture. But then let me just make this. John is somebody that I've known for quite some time.
Okay.
And when I was the managing director of Isoko, my main idea was mainly, or what we used to do.
Oh, okay, so then you have a instinct of agriculture and commodities buying.
Commodities, not buying per se, but indeed in terms of how do you improve the whole agriculture value chain.
Okay.
Now, John mentioned something to do with science, technology, and so on and so forth. Fantastic. But then the whole process of improving, the agricultural space is more to do a value chain approach. Now, he mentioned the risks associated with some of the methods that are even used in farming. Now, you look at it from the input point of view. You look at it from the seeds, how you even prepare the land, the use of fertilizers and, through to the marketing distribution and to the final consumer. What are the methods that you got to really adopt in order to ensure that people who are consuming this particular produce are not at any risk? So it's more to do with how do you prepare the farmers. Now let's look at technology. Fantastic. Technology adoption is great. Diffusion strategies are where the problems really are. And in the work that we did in the past, John himself, some of us, we did some value chain development in Ho some time back, many years back.
I'll still be having to give you 30 seconds to put
you realize that indeed demonstration farmer field schools and all these things are very necessary. If you are introducing a new variety, there's a need for farmers to be properly trained in order for them to understand the farming methods, application, and even post-harvest activities. These are the kind of activities you've got to put in place to ensure that you really improve the
Let
sector.
me put the question across to him then. You said properly trained. So yes, you've embarked on the advocacy. I want to find out the success story. Today, are you well trained? Are you well introduced to the new variety of cowpea, even though it's not coming out there? Can you say your members confidently understand the methodologies? What are the success stories and the success rates?
Yeah, when we were confronted with the situation, in Ghana, Parliament actually gives the legislative touch to everything. So you have Minister of Agri and also Minister of Science, Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, actually. So it is under Minister of MEST, Environment Science, that we have the National Biosafety Authority, which is also made up of various interest groups, stakeholder institutions. So it's also represented, a farmer represents the authority, yes. So it's a stakeholder institution, and that is where we also push our agenda through. And because we are the end users of technology, we also work with the Parliamentary Select Committee, and that is the reason why the biosafety bill has been passed into a law. Now, we are hoping that when the seed breeders bill goes through, then our scientists, it will provide the environment for them to be competitive. I mean, the training that they've had from within and outside, they'll be able to come out with breeds that will meet the taste. Because what do you do? When at a point in time when we were suffering from this child killer disease and other things, diphtheria, whooping cough, and all those sort of things, they had to get vaccines to actually control the population. Now that population has increased and food security has become an issue today, and also with climate change, as of now, some of us have not even plowed our lands because the rains are not coming. So the scientists will come out with varieties that ought to be drought resistant. And when there is drought, insects also actually thrive. You get me? So the little you plant, you have to control it with insects.
Have you been successful in just 30 seconds? Have you?
Yeah, we did advocacy. You went as far as to Kenya, to the African Agricultural Technology Foundation, to meet with them to see how best we can promote this variety in Ghana. So when we came back, we went to Nyankpala to meet with the breeder to follow up on the process of coming out with the maruca resistant cowpea. And I think they are doing very well. And when we came back to, we organized advocacy workshops, training workshops for some of our members within the
I think you are fine. Let me just be fair to Mr. Demoji by giving you 30 seconds to round it up. And when people come to you like this, what you seek to achieve to make sure it's a better country where there's enough food security?
Yeah, as a committee, our responsibility is to ensure that the programs of the ministry, of the executive arm of government is put into fruition. And we always play that oversight role to ensure that whatever they plan to do is fully monitored, and even we do follow up. So we don't just approve budget for the executive arm of government. So we follow up with every project. So we are there as a committee. It's a public institutions, and we welcome farmers, we welcome fishermen, we welcome traders that are involved in the agriculture sector, because the bottom line is that we want to see agriculture sector thriving.
Okay, Dr. Otabil, you always have the final word. They've advocated now. It looks good for now, but the way forward for them, just in 30 seconds.
Well, the way forward is exactly what John really described it to be. I'm happy that he went to Nyankpala. Nyankpala has demonstrated over the years that they have the capacity to actually improve our agricultural sector. And I would recommend that in the diffusion strategy that they adopt, they must provide a hand-holding, the mentorship, to make sure that the farmers are indeed given what they need to do in order to make sure that they do the right thing. Look, you see, the GMO thing should not be treated lightly. There are WHO reports that shows that indeed if you don't do the right thing, the repercussions are far more greater than if you had not done it at all. In as much as we want to control food insecurity, we should also make sure that we don't compromise that with substandard techniques in agriculture that would harm all of us.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just go through my gentlemen once again. I've been speaking to Dr. Bernard Otabil, financial author, CEO of the Ghana News Agency. Indeed, a short while ago, he just rounded it up by telling us that, well, we do it right, or then we might as well not have tried doing it at all, and he's sure that the right thing is being done. I also had the expert from the Ghana Federation of Agriculture Producers Association, John Jiwanu. John, many thanks, and you are into cowpea already, and you know the hazards, and today you're advocating for the right thing to be done. He's a member of parliament, not just a member of parliament, but when it comes to food and agriculture, he is tall there. I love him so much. Bright Demoji is a member of parliament, and he also is on the vice on the Parliamentary Food and Agric Committee for Cocoa and Agriculture.
It's food, agriculture, and cocoa affairs.
And cocoa affairs. Many thanks for joining me.